Hello, everybody. I suppose we'll go ahead and start now. Just a couple of housekeeping. First of all, my name is Jamie Larmer. I'm the youth coordinator with the Center for Disability Empowerment, and today I will be adminning for today's presentation. And a couple of housekeeping tips. I will be managing the chat, so anytime you all have any feel free to type those into the chat. Um, and then also I will be pulling up a poll just to kind of see where everybody's at. Are you a parent? Are you a student, high school student? Those kinds of things. And yeah, so Deb, would you like me to share a little bit about CDE, or would you like to take over that?
I'll let you go ahead and do that while I help Sue.
Okay. So a little, for those of you who may not know, a little bit about the Center for Disability Empowerment. We are one of 12 centers for independent living in Ohio, and we are a non-residential nonprofit that supports all persons of all ages with any disability. And we do this through our 5 core services, which are information and referral, independent living skills training, peer support, advocacy, and transition services. There are 2 components to that transition services. Miss Deborah Peterman falls under one of those with the nursing home transitions, where she is helping those who are in nursing homes transition back into the community. And then I myself work the other half of that would be the youth transition. We also have several grants, one of which is the reason, I suppose, that we are doing today's training. That's the Central Ohio Family Network, where we're working towards connecting families of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And with that, I believe we'll go ahead and start. And Mallory, whenever you'd like to pull up that poll, just go ahead and let me know.
1 second, Jamie.
Yes.
Sue, are you on?
Sue is what? Can you hear me?
Can we hear you, Sue? Can you please introduce Margot Izzo right now?
Certainly. So Margot has been a program director for special education and transition services at OSU's Nisonger Center. And Margot, you have to correct me if I'm wrong on the title. Margot was supposed to have retired several years ago, and thankfully she's still with us. Margot is responsible for the inception of the TOPS program at OSU, which is a post-secondary program, which you'll hear more about in a few minutes. Margot and I worked together on a grant from the Ohio Department of DD, and she brought that to the attention of the Center for Disability Empowerment. And she was among the first board members of the Center for Disability Empowerment. So I'm very pleased and honored that we are doing this program with Margot today.
Thank you so much, Sue. And I really value the work that the Center for Disability Empowerment is doing across Ohio. And the major reason I can't retire is because of my fellow panelists, people like Mallory Workman and Jan Doney, and Jesse Green and Megan Ryan and Duke. And I especially enjoy working with all the parents as well. So I'm going to introduce Mallory Workman, who volunteered to facilitate this webinar 2 months ago. And one of the reasons I enjoy working with Mallory is she rarely says no to an opportunity that will push her own learning. So Mallory started as a volunteer 9 years ago with the top student when she was a student at Ohio State University. And she excelled so much as a volunteer. We recruited her as a student assistant, and she worked with us for 2 years as a paid student assistant. We didn't have any jobs when Mallory graduated, so she left and went and worked at another disability organization. But as soon as we had an opening, we asked Mallory if she was interested, because Mallory connects with students with disabilities in such a natural way and helps bring out their talents. Mallory is the current academic advisor at the Ohio State University Transition Options and Post-Secondary Settings program. She recruits over 70 peer mentors who work with about the 25 top students that we have per year. And she can coordinate a logistical map of 70 volunteers and 25 students, and gets all of these typical OSU students working with our top students. And now she is also working with many of the different post-secondary programs across Ohio. So Mallory, thank you for your enthusiasm and for your excellent job. And I'm going to let you take it away so you can share more about college opportunities.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Margot. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone that is here tonight for taking time out of your Monday evening to learn about college opportunities for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Similar to what Jamie was saying, I want this to be as interactive as possible for those that are in attendance. I'm going to be kind of interjecting and asking some of our panelists questions. So if you have any questions throughout our evening tonight, please feel free to utilize the chat. Both Jamie and I, when I'm not speaking, will be taking a look at that, and we can get your questions answered whenever those pop up. So we're going to have many different perspectives tonight on college options, and I'm really excited for all of us to learn some more. So let's see here. Okay, so you guys, we are so lucky tonight to have a wonderful panel, like I said, with a bunch of different perspectives on post-secondary options. First, we have Jan Goings, who is the director of the University of Cincinnati Transition and Access Program, the TAP program. And she'll be talking a little bit about the opportunities that they have down in my home city of Cincinnati. Then we're going to have Jesse Green, who is the program manager for the Ohio State University TOPS program, who I guess my loyalties lie there now because I'm a Buckeye through and through now for the past 10 years. We have Duke Mitchell with us. So Duke, do you want to introduce yourself and why you're here?
Yes, my name is Duke Mitchell. I am a fifth-year senior at the University of Cincinnati. I am currently 24. I'll be 25 in August. I came to the program because my parents found out about it in a newspaper article, and they immediately hopped on the bandwagon and just went for it. Went for it all the way uphill.
And what's your favorite part about being in college, Duke?
My favorite part about being in college is my friends that are now to me actually like my family. I treat my friends like they're my family. And we're very connected with each other. Everyone's so outgoing and unique and amazing, and I love being by their side, working with them, like as a fellow student and like getting to know them more as the years go by. And it's just so amazing. And I would not be where I am today without my mom and dad's influence on that.
Awesome. Well, I am. Oh, go ahead.
Also, to be honest, at first I did not want to go at all because I thought it would be too expensive. And then my parents convinced me, and I'm like, okay, so I'll try it. And then I fell in love with it.
Well, awesome. I'm so excited to hear more about your experiences a little bit later when we talk about TAP.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And then we have the dynamic duo, Megan and Mary Jin Ryan, coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Mary Jin Ryan, mother of Megan, and we're honored to be on the panel. Megan is, I'm a parent of a TOPS graduate. Megan, introduce yourself.
I am Megan Ryan. I am 2018 TOPS graduate.
Where do you work?
I work at a childcare center at Lee, Ohio State.
Perfect. You work at the Nisonger Center, Early Childhood Education Center, don't you?
Yes.
And what age do you work with, Megan?
Infants.
The babies, yes.
But I see all different kinds of
All different ages.
kids.
Yes. So Megan not only is a graduate, so she was a former student of mine, but now she's technically a colleague of mine. So that's definitely a really cool thing for us. And then as Margot said, my name is Mallory Workman. I was a peer mentor when I was doing my undergrad program at Ohio State. And now I am fortunate enough to be the academic advisor and the head of peer mentor recruitment for the TOPS program. So I work with our students on enrolling and succeeding in their inclusive OSU courses. And then I also get the support staff via our peer mentors set up with our students as well. So we have a whole lot of fun, exciting things to cover tonight, but I want to hear about who we have in the audience. So just to kind of get an idea of why you're here tonight, Jamie was awesome enough to set up a little poll for us. So Jamie, take it away with our poll. I know this has been disseminated in a lot of different avenues. So please let us know what brought you here. Are you a parent, a guardian, a service provider? Are you hoping to join a college program? So maybe you're a high school student right now. Are you a graduate of a program? Or is there another reason you're here tonight? Okay, does any, are we able to see the results, Jamie?
Yes, we've got 44% for parent, 20% service provider, 7% high school student, 36% other, and 2% for hoping to join and a graduate of the program.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like most folks are either parents or service providers, and that is fantastic. We're going to address a lot of kind of questions and specifics today about, you know, what the transition from high school to college might look like, or even if your student is a couple of years outside of high school, what that transition might look like. And so I'm very excited to share with you our agenda for the evening. So as much as we love our great, beautiful state of Ohio, it would be a disservice to the post-secondary education realm without talking about what's happening on a national level and how we in the Ohio Statewide Consortium got to be where we are today. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about how these programs came to be. And then we're going to transition, see what I did there, to the Ohio statewide consortium, or what's going on in Ohio. Then, as I mentioned, we have representatives from both the TOPS program, which is located here in Columbus, Ohio, and the TAP program, which is located in Cincinnati at the University of Cincinnati, to talk a little bit about what their transition programs look like. So you can get kind of an idea of what the college experience would look like for a student with IDD. Then we have some tips and tricks just to consider during this transitional time, resources for families and service providers. And then I'm going to open it up for questions for, I imagine you're going to want to hear from Megan and Mary Jen and Duke about their experiences in these college programs. So again, as a friendly reminder, feel free to ask questions. Jamie is going to be monitoring the chat in the Q&A, and we'll get started. So as a policy major, a public policy major in college, I became very familiar with kind of where all of these programs began. And that's actually how my affiliation with the TOPS program began, is I started to learn about the 2008 Higher Education Opportunity Act. So in 2008, Congress reauthorized this act, which was originally established in the 1960s. And with this legislation, there came opportunities for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to receive federal financial aid to go to college. It was pretty much decided that, you know, every other citizen has the opportunity to attend college if they so choose. So why aren't there the same opportunities for folks with disabilities? A national coordinating center was also established at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, which then helped to create and provide funding for a series of transition programs for students with intellectual disabilities, or TIPSIDs for short. So the first round of funding established 27 programs in 23 states. Ohio was, of course, lucky enough to have 2 programs to begin with. So the Ohio State University, under the leadership of Dr. Margot Izzo, was one of the original recipients of this grant. And Kent State University was also a recipient of the original grant. So the kind of mecca of all things college for students with disabilities is this entity called Think College. So if you have not visited www.thinkcollege.net and you are considering a college program for your son or daughter or students on a service provider level, please put that in your bookmarks right now, because we're going to be talking a lot about that tonight. And it is a really important resource for anybody who's interested in exploring these options. So then in 2015, there was a second round of funding for some of the original recipients of the grants to kind of share what they have been doing, their successes, and model their programs for other universities. And Ohio State was a recipient of that second round of funding and helped to create what we call the Ohio Statewide Consortium, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So that was 2008. Programs started rolling out around 2010. And where are we now? So from that original 27 programs in 2008, there are now over 290 programs in the United States. So as you can see, Ohio has 10. We are not that, you know, we're not quite up there with New York yet with 33, but pretty much every single state in the United States, thanks to Think College, now has some sort of transition program or college program for students with disabilities in their state. And so as much as we would love for the participants in tonight's webinar to stay within Ohio, because it is, you know, in my biased opinion, the best state in the country, just know that there are plenty of other options if you are choosing to go out of state. I know, for example, we have in our incoming class in TOPS, we have a student from Colorado coming to Ohio. We have students from Michigan. We have a student from Canada that just graduated. And we have several students from Texas. So traveling and going out of state is an option. I know it might sound kind of scary for parents, maybe more so than the students, but there are options outside of the state of Ohio if that is what you and your students choose. So again, as I said, that second round of funding helps to kind of create a network within the state of Ohio. And now we are lucky enough to collaborate with 9 different institutions within the state of Ohio called the Ohio Statewide Consortium. So all of the member institutions of the OSC work together, bounce ideas off of one another, and really collaborate to create wonderful, wonderful transition programs within our home Buckeye state. I think we're pretty well geographically represented. So these are the member institutions in the within the state of Ohio. So we have a map here of the state of Ohio representing Bowling Green State University, their Firelands branch, Columbus State Community College, Edison State Community College, Kent State University, Marietta College, Ohio State, the University of Cincinnati, the University of Toledo, and Youngstown State University. So each of those institutions has some form of post-secondary or college program specifically catering towards students with disabilities. What I love about the OSC is that our programs are all very unique. Obviously, Ohio State is significantly larger than some of these other institutions on the list. But that, I think, what is great about the diversity of the programs and diversity of the institutions that comprise the OSC is whether you want to go to a larger university or a smaller, maybe rural campus, or whether you want to go somewhere, within driving distance of your home, we have a lot of different options for folks that are considering college programs. So here is some fantastic data that was shared recently with the Ohio Statewide Consortium partners. So as you can see, we are consistently growing. This is 6 of the 10 institutions that are associated with the OSC, and we are collectively getting bigger and bigger every year, which is exactly what we're hoping for. As we continue to have webinars like this and continue to attend transition fairs and really get the word out there that having a disability does not and should not prohibit you from going to college, we are continuing. I like that, the enthusiasm, Duke. Duke is enthusiastically shaking his head. We are continuing to grow as a consortium, and we're continuing to grow on a national level as well. In addition, these are some numbers of the percentage of students with a paid job while in college. As you can see, the numbers continue to grow throughout the years as well. And both Jesse and Jan will talk a little bit about the employment opportunities and the internship opportunities while they're in our programs. This is a graph of the percentage of students with a paid job while they're in their college programs. And it is representing OSU, University of Cincinnati, Marietta College, and Youngstown State University versus your traditional full-time college students. And for a lot of the universities represented, our students with disabilities have consistently higher numbers of employment while in college than traditional university students. And then this is also employment and career development activities for students, whether it be employment or paid work-based learning. The percentage of enrolled students at OSU, UC, Marietta College, Youngstown State University, and Columbus State Community College versus the TIPSID. So that TIPSID is the numbers on a national level. So we at the TOPS program, as Jesse will say, traditionally start our students in unpaid internships, which is, I think, kind of like a rite of passage for most college students. I know myself, I had a lot of unpaid internships throughout my time in college. And then transition into whether it be work study or paid internships or paid employment. But that goal of paid community-based employment at the end of our program is really one of the most important things that we stress in the admission and in the completion of our program. So it's very important that our students, and I'm sure Jan and Duke will testify to this as well, that our students are getting work experience and getting employment experience while they're in college, so that they're prepared to be productive members of the community after they graduate. And then last but certainly not least, I think these numbers are probably the most exciting out of any of the graphs that I've shown. This is the number of students who had a paid job within 90 days of program completion. I know that as a traditional college student, I barely made that 90-day mark of finding a paid job just because of how competitive the employment world is these days. But we are continuing to have wonderful, oops, we have a chat. Yes, thank you, Duke. These are incredible numbers. Our students are graduating from our programs and they're getting jobs, and they're not just getting jobs, they're getting careers. They're working for the Ohio State University. They're working in their field, you know, their field of choice. And that is something that I think is a fantastic asset of attending a post-secondary program. And I know I'm biased, but our career developers do a wonderful job of finding not only jobs for our students, but long-term careers in their passion areas. Oops. Okay, so to start us off tonight, I am going to hand the mic off to Jesse Green to talk a little bit about the transition options in post-secondary settings, or TOPS program at The Ohio State University. So Jesse, I am going to intervene occasionally to ask Megan some questions, if she can remember her wonderful experience from 2 years ago. I know 2 years ago is a long time for me, but are we ready to go?
I am.
Meg, you ready?
I'm nervous.
Okay. I was nervous too, but you got it. I know that you are a fantastic speaker. So
Thank you, Mom.
you got you, girl. All right, Jesse, take it away.
Perfect. Perfect. So these are just a few of our students, but so at, oh, you're good. At Ohio State, the TOPS program is specifically located out of the Nisonger Center. The Nisonger Center has been around for over 50 years now. It is a center for excellence in developmental disabilities, which there's at least one in every state. And so we do a variety of offer a variety of services and programming centered around individuals with disabilities across the lifespan. So, you know, you heard Megan mention that she works in the baby room of the daycare in our building. So literally, you know, from birth all the way through the lifespan, cradle to grave is often the term that is used. And so we are just a small part of the great work that is happening at Nisonger Center. But the TOPS program is specifically a 2 or a 4-year workforce development certificate program. So students are with us for 2 or 4 years. We started as a 4-year program. Students and their families advocated and also for the creation of the 2-year program. And so that occurred along the way in 2015. And so we have had 20 8 graduates to date out of both the 2 and the 4-year program. We focus on 4 areas mainly: academics, employment, independent living, or social experiences. And then weaved throughout all of these areas is self-determination, because that is so important to the success of our students. Perfect. So this past year we had 27 students, and mostly males, and so Megan was one among many males. Every year we start to have a few more females, and so, but they find friends in other areas. We had 10 first-year students, 10 second-year students, 5 third-year students, and 2 fourth-year students. And you'll notice between the first and second, and then the third and fourth years, there's kind of a big difference, and that's because some of our second-year students graduate, and so that third and fourth year becomes a smaller cohort. A majority of students, as Mallory said earlier, are from inside of Ohio, but that doesn't mean that they are necessarily from Columbus. We have students from all over the state. We have 3 out-of-state students this past year. Mallory mentioned some of those states that our students come from. And then we technically had an international student as well, who her family, though, was in the States for work purposes. But despite the fact that we had so many students, they do have a wide range of interests, skills, strengths, and so it sometimes makes for a very interesting dynamic, but it's fantastic.
So Meg, do you want to share, did you do the 2 or the 4-year program?
The 4-year.
4-year program. So we had the pleasure of having, and down there at the bottom, it's a picture of Megan on her graduation day with some of the other students that graduated.
Yay!
Oh my goodness, that makes it sound like you were happy to leave us.
Don't push it.
And then on the bottom right, for accessibility purposes, that is a picture of myself and some of our students in our student learning community. That was during one of our healthy eating lessons. We were making a fruit salad.
That sounds awesome, man.
So I'll talk about those areas a little bit more in depth that I just mentioned. So students in our program audit 1 course from the course catalog every semester. We actually just this past year had a student who decided he wanted to audit 2 courses, and that was very successful. Typically the course that students audit is centered around an area of interest. It could be an employment interest, if there are courses that line up well, or it could be out of just a area of personal interest. So for instance, we've had students take a variety of history classes because history is something that fascinates them. We've had students who had a passion for the earth sciences and the sky, astronomy type things, but that didn't relate to their employment outcomes. And so Mallory works with students individually to determine what that path of coursework is going to look like. And then along with that 1 course that students are taking, they're also taking another course that is taught by the staff from TOPS, and it focuses on several things that we'll talk about in a future slide, so I don't want to go into too much detail about that yet. And so students are enrolled in 4 credit hours every semester at minimum. Students also are participating in jobs, internships, and a variety of experiences while they're on campus. They could also be within the city of Columbus or surrounding area. Just depends on really what their goals are for employment and what industries they're working in. We also have students that get involved heavily on campus. So we've got students involved in clubs and organizations. We have one student right now who is an officer of the student organization that he is a member of. They are going to events. They are getting season tickets to basketball games or football games. They are getting involved at their RPAC, which is the rec center on campus. So our students are right alongside their peers doing many of the same activities that they are interested in. And then self-determination. All of this is guided by the student with the support of the staff. So like I mentioned, Mallory is working with the student to determine what courses they're going to take. Our career developers are working with the students to determine which internships that they want, or maybe it's they want to get a paid job in addition to their internship. So our staff is helping them to fill out applications or prepare for interviews, go to interviews, ask for accommodations, all of those sorts of things. Our students are making choices about the clubs and organizations that they go to, or maybe it's the workout classes that they get involved with. So really helping to advocate for what the student wants. There we go, perfect. I've talked a little bit about this already because I just get going. And so we follow OSU's schedule, just like any other student on campus. So our first day of class is the same first day as any other. Our breaks are the same, all of those sorts of things. And the two types of classes, so we talked about the OSU course catalog courses, and then we have our program level courses that again are taught by our staff. Go ahead.
So actually I have Megan, do you want to share, and now I know this was a couple of years ago, but do you want to share maybe one or two of the classes that you took while you were in the TOPS program?
Yeah. So, sorry, you said one and two?
Or as many as you want, if you want to list them all.
Oh, no. I don't know what to start. Check. I took a theater class. I would different place in I would different place and watch shows. And I took the dance jazz. It's fun.
Awesome. So theater and jazz. And actually I would love, oh, did you have anything else to add, Meg?
Sure. Well, yeah. Okay. 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 Communication. You ready for this, Mallory?
I am ready.
Okay. A tough class. I'll keep going.
Okay.
Fashion, different designs, and okay. And how to make clothes.
Awesome. Thank you. So Meg took a wide variety of classes while she was in our program because her interests were changing all the time. Megan was a fashion, or is still a fashion guru. So there were some fashion classes, theater classes, communications, and she took a dance class with jazz as well. But Megan, if I can use you as an example to answer a question that came on the chat, someone asked what auditing meant. And our students in the TOPS program do not receive a degree at the completion of their program. Instead, they are receiving credit for towards a workforce development certificate that is recognized by the university. So auditing means that they are sitting in on the classes and participating just as any other student would. They're just receiving credit towards our certificate instead of a degree. And I'm going to use Megan as an example because Megan, like me, had some test taking anxiety while she was in our program. So when it came time to take tests, reasonably so, we would get a little nervous. And so because Megan was auditing the class, there is one class I'm thinking about in particular that she took that her professor, do you remember this?
Tell me.
What'd you say?
Tell me.
When your professor let you come into office hours and you guys talked about the course content instead of you taking the exam. Do you remember that?
Oh, a little bit, but which class did I took?
That was the family sciences class, the human development one that you took.
Okay.
But so Megan was able to sit down with her instructor and talk about the content rather than take the actual exam. And so it's a different way to assess whether or not she was retaining the information, but not as official as you might need to, receive a degree or like a grade for the course. So sorry, Meg, that question was on the spot. I apologize.
That's okay. But Mallory, I do remember.
You remember now?
Yeah.
I went with you, so it probably wasn't that memorable.
Ow.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
No, you're good. So then the other course that is taught by program level staff is our student learning community. And so they're really working on developing skills through direct instruction. So some of the topics that are covered under kind of career readiness include workplace etiquette, communication within the workplace, interviewing, resume development, job applications. Obviously, this spring we shifted to how do you do this virtually? How do you do a Zoom interview? How do you present yourself, because that's different? Or how do you do a phone interview? Those things are different than in person. We do a lot of career exploration, whether it's through assessments, informational interviews, or job shadows. We talk about benefits related to working, and then accommodations. What kind of accommodations am I going to need in the workplace to be successful? Under the independent living umbrella is just about everything else, I like to say, but really talking about disclosure and disability rights. So that disclosure piece is part of self-determination and knowing when and how and who to disclose to. Obviously, that is a choice of the student. However, there are some ways that can come across much stronger than others. Students talk about health and wellness and eating and exercising and mental health, not all sorts of health and wellness. A lot of budgeting and consumer spending is worked on. Students also work on this during social activities. They may go out to eat, and so with a peer, they might be working on, I have $20 with me today, and we're at a restaurant where I want an appetizer, a full meal, and dessert, and a soda to drink. And I've now gone over my $20 that I have with me, and I still haven't tipped yet. So a peer might be there to support how to walk through and make sure that everything is done properly, and that students have the money needed to get through that meal successfully. We talk about safety in every aspect. So while they're at home, while they're in the community, when they're on campus, what to do, how to do, all those sorts of things. And then healthy relationships, both platonic and romantic and professional, because all of those relationships have different boundaries and rules that sometimes our students struggle to manage through. Go ahead. Perfect. So our students are students at Ohio State. They're card-carrying members of, they have their Buck ID, which gets them access to a lot of different locations on campus, including the rec facility, also known as the RPAC. It gets them into different campus activities. It gets them onto the city buses through Columbus for no cost. And so really without that Buck ID, students wouldn't be able to engage as members of the campus community. Students also have their OSU email, which is the name.number. That is the other key to access on our campus. And so they have that as well. Some of our students choose to get a commuter student meal plan so that they can eat in the dining halls, even if they don't live on campus, just as a way to kind of ease that thought that might go into preparing lunch or meals for the day while they're on campus.
Now, Meg, I know you were really involved in some of the social activities and stuff on campus.
Yes.
Do you remember any of some of your favorite things that you did on campus as far as social activities or involvement?
Pizza parties, karaoke, okay. Play games, and helping making cards for the military.
Making cards for the military. And what was something that you and I got to do together? Not one, not two, but 3 times. What did we participate in?
Service trips.
Service trips. So another great thing, sorry to steal your thunder, Jesse, but top students are eligible for what we call Buckeye Serve, which is a university-wide alternative spring break program. And Megan went 3 times with our program to New Orleans, Detroit, and Chicago to perform service and volunteer outside of our home state and give back during spring break. So I think she had a great time. I can't speak for her, but I sure had a great time doing that with Megan.
I had fun.
Good. I promise I didn't pay her to say that.
I didn't know about Chicago.
Well, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
Perfect. So obviously a big part of our program is the internships and the career development that our students do. These experiences are done discussed, implemented on an individual basis through person-centered planning. And they're really driven by the students' goals and interests. And so to get there, students are doing career exploration, they're doing informational interviews and job shadows, they're doing unpaid internships. Some of our students have student employment on campus. They're utilizing OSU's career service resources, which includes several university-only platforms for job boards. And so there is a lot that our students are able to access through the services portion of internships. I think, Mallory, would you, thank you, perfect. And so once they've kind of worked through career exploration, we are moving into unpaid internships. Our students are typically working 10 to 20, I would say probably 10 to 15 is typically what students are working every week. And they start their first semester on campus. An internship might not be the entire semester, just depending on the business needs and their scheduling, as well as student scheduling. and what the goal of the internship is. And so students gain that experience through unpaid internships, and sometimes those move into paid student employment. Sometimes we have students who qualify for federal work study, and so if they're in a student employment position or a work study position, they are being paid for their time. We do sometimes have students who are doing both an unpaid internship and a paid student position concurrently, so because they recognize the positive benefits of the paid work, but want to gain more skills in potentially other areas and continue to get those experiences. Once students graduate, they can go into regular employment positions in the community or potentially at the university. If a student is hired at the university and needs extra support or maybe some modifications for a position that HR won't maybe take some of the job responsibilities out that a student is not going to be successful with, we create a general services assistant position at the university, and so we can customize that position to the student's needs, and so the student is then able to work for the university. Most students who graduated and are working at the university are working between 25 hours and 40 hours a week. They are all working or paying into the state retirement system if they are an employee of the university. And some of our students at Ohio State, if they're working 32 hours a week, are receiving health insurance benefits, which all of those things are fantastic when we look at the long-term benefits to our graduates.
So Jesse, I'm gonna skip over the self-determination just for sake of time, because I think we've talked about that, but someone in the chat asked about what types of employment opportunities our students have had.
Yeah, so it really is determined by the student. So we've got students, I forget what the number was, but I want to say over 50 different internship areas that we've worked with. We've got students in the hospital doing a variety of things. We have students in financial businesses doing work, retail, food service, Megan's in childcare. So really it is dependent on each individual student.
Awesome. So then admissions requirements.
Yeah. So students in our program are required to have graduated high school and taken their diploma, no longer receiving access to IDEA. So the IEP has ended, so they are over 18 years old and have an intellectual disability or developmental disability. Students really that come to Ohio State need to be self-determined or working on those skills. And want to engage with the university and want to engage with work. Students coming to Ohio State need to, with some training, be able to navigate campus. It's a big place. Mallory and I will both tell you that as alums of the university and working for the university for many years, we both still get lost. But that willingness to learn, to navigate campus independently is necessary. And then last, that students want to work when they leave our program, when they graduate. Working competitively in the community is something that we feel is extremely important and one of the major goals for our graduates. I'll quickly go over this. So we expect students to follow the code of conduct just like any other student at the university, be willing to learn new skills, and my favorite word, interdependence. So knowing that I don't have to do everything alone, but knowing when I have to ask for help is key to success of our students. I don't do everything alone. I have to ask for help at times. Engaging with the program in the university, and that looks different for every student, but that is something we work through with students. Asking for help in advocating for themselves, and then really just looking at each area of the program individually but collectively to make sure that they are meeting all of their goals as well as program goals. I think I've covered all of that, but a lot of this, what this is showing is the supports that students receive. So for instance, we've talked about Mallory's role as academic advisor. We've talked about the career developers. We've got a residential coordinator who helps with the independent living piece. And that person also is our coordinator of social events. And then really the boots on the ground that we would not be able to run our program without our ed coaches, our in-class mentors, and our social coaches. Those are the folks that are in the classes with our students, supporting them, engaging in as friends, and these friendships maybe start as requirements of all of our peers are taking a practicum course in the disability studies department, but they really grow from I'm getting credit for this course to true friendships. And I know we're short on time, but I think that's also something that Megan could speak to at some point if someone was interested in that. So.
Oops. Okay, so we've had several people ask about whether this is going to be provided, and I do have some resource opportunity for you guys at the end. So this will be available. And Sue, as far as housing looks like for students in OSU's program, we have a partnership with a local apartment complex that has an affiliation with the university called University Village. And University Village is unique in the fact that it has buses that go directly to and from campus that are specific for students that are living at University Village. So it's not like a public bus, it's a bus just for those students. And this year, we are so excited because we have on-campus housing for the first time. So we will have 7 students that are piloting our residential life on campus. And so they'll be living in the dorms in an inclusive dorm with other students. And we're so excited for that to pilot this year. Oh my goodness, we have lots of questions. I think just so we make sure that, that Jan and Duke are able to talk about TAP, I have no problem staying past 8:30 to answer some of these questions. So if
Mallory,
yeah.
sorry, I'm trying to answer some of the Q&A questions as we go. So as I get
you're gonna type them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Jan and Duke, are you guys ready?
I am. Duke, can you unmute me? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
I was born ready.
Okay, that's true. All right, so welcome to the University of Cincinnati, and I'm going to let you go. Thanks, Mallory. So I think probably everyone on here is probably maybe somewhat familiar with the University of Cincinnati. We're an urban campus. Really celebrating over our 200th year. Where our program is, I'll talk about, is in our main campus in the Clifton area. About 46,000 some students on that campus, about 36,000 undergraduate students. So we're not as spread out as Ohio State University. It feels like a campus that you can walk across in about 25 minutes.
But we are one big happy family.
Thank you. All right. Mallory, can you go to the next slide, please? So as I said, about 36,000 undergraduate students. Average class size is about 16 students for our undergraduate students. And why is that important? Because our students are also undergraduate students and experiencing the culture of the university too. So just some fast facts there. So we can go to the next slide. So we are the Transition and Access Program. We started in 2012. And since that start, we have continued to have program development to continue to improve, to benefit from other programs, and to share and to listen to what our students and families are looking for. We are also part of thinkcollege.net. One of the things particularly is unique about us, we have a university recognized certificate from the university, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. But our students are fully enrolled as University of Cincinnati students, and upon graduation, they receive a certificate that documents their academic work. Our program areas, in terms of we think about our mission, is really around advocacy, education, and research. I mean, ultimately, as we are looking at what these programs do, we want to, as a university, contribute to what we know makes sense to help develop young adults into their independent life. Of course, achieve that life, the quality of life that they most desire. And so we begin really kind of with that framework. So as Jesse talked about the pillars, our major program outcomes are obviously very similar as we think about where we want to help support young adults to get to. So we want sustained independence upon graduation, that students are able to make those community connections. So at the university, we like to think of as a place where students are practicing those skills, developing those skills, and they can take those experiences out to their adult world to maintain those community connections. Another area is, and I'll talk more specifically about what that looks like, is independent living. Our trajectory for our students and for them as they develop that person-centered plan is that once upon graduation, they are living in their own home outside of their family home with whatever supports they have decided that they need. Employment. Looking for gainful employment, healthy social relationships, and again, being a lifelong learner, to be able to consume information, to enjoy learning new things, to be able to engage with others. Kind of those larger program outcomes for our students are kind of the undergirth of our program. And you can go to the next slide for us, please. So TAP students, we are and I'll talk a little bit this, but we are a 4-year residential program. So our students actually come from all over, and I'll talk a little bit about that residential model. We have about 30 students enrolled in a year, so roughly about 8 to 10 students in our freshman class. 40% are from the Cincinnati area, total about 70% are from Ohio, and about 30% are from out of state. So why is that significant? A lot of people say, what do students do on the weekends? I go, a lot of them are there on the weekends because this is their home for them while they're here for this semester. We have about, I think, Jesse, you gave a male-female ratio. We're about 50% evenly split down the middle, gender-wise also. But our students are quite all over. We've had international students, and we continue to draw this coming freshman class. About half of those freshmen are from out of state, and the other are from Cincinnati or the Ohio area. Then my next slide for me, please. Thank you. So the Transition Access Program is a program that has been designed based on a typical undergraduate college program. So what does that mean? Our students apply to be admitted at into our program and become fully recognized students at the University of Cincinnati. They take their program classes as other undergraduate students, working and concentrating and learning those skills around self-determination, employment, healthy relationships, independent living, as other undergraduate students take their concentrated courses in their major. Our courses are taught by our faculty. And so they take those courses, but they also are taking university electives. And I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. Over those 4 years, and they have earned at least 96 credit hours to complete that certificate that really is a documentation of their work. So we like to say our students live, work, learn, and lead as UC students. So living on campus, and Duke, I'll ask you a couple questions here in a little bit. So all of our freshmen are coming in. Our students, we do require that they live on campus. So our incoming freshmen live in an inclusive resident hall. About 400 students are in that hall, in the resident hall. They have roommates with another student in our TAP program. They may have a suite mate. Typically that suite mate, meaning other people who share the bathroom on the other side, are usually typically students in TAP. But on that floor, or on the floors, it's quite inclusive, meaning any other student can be on that floor. In another year, we'll have what we call a living learning community, so that the students who are choosing to live on that floor are apply and are part of a living learning community, and we're taking some shared classes and experiences. But one of the things we've done, we have students who live in inclusive housing, and so our freshmen and sophomore live in, I would say, typical university housing. It's a brand new resident hall. But then that third year, they're moving to another resident hall where they can choose to have a roommate in the program or someone else they've met. And that housing is actually apartment style. So where students can live, meal plan, cook on their own, and really kind of have that transition to what life might look like in an apartment. And then typically we encourage our seniors to move off campus within the Clifton area. And if you know anything about University of Cincinnati or our colleges, bed space is at a premium. So typically other undergraduate students tend to move off campus their sophomore year. And so it's very natural progression that our seniors, it's not required, but that our seniors move into apartments around campus, again, while they have that support to be able to practice, to develop those skills. So what that looks like post-graduation. As I just briefly mentioned, in a year we'll have this living learning community for our freshmen and sophomores. That will be other undergraduate students are a part of our residential community. Students are living all aspects of campus. I won't repeat some of what OSU has done because I think there's a lot of similarities, but students are members of student organizations. We help support them to be ambassadors and to make those connections. Our students, to be able to live on campus, really have to be able to manage their personal needs, their personal hygiene, to manage their medication, and to be able to make what I would say good decisions about healthy, being safe, and all those kind of things that are important to have that level of independence. Also, students, one of the things that we do, we like to say that at a university, there's a lot of support already existing for students, but what TAP does is add that additional layer of support. And so while our students are living in the resident halls, they have a RA, which is a resident assistant that supports their floor and may plan social activities, and it's there just for students to get advice. But then we offer what we call a TAP life coach, and that life coach meets with their students to help really help students work on the goals that the students have decided. So if a student says, I'd like to be a member of a student organization, I need help with my laundry, that life coach is there to help walk them through that. Duke, I'll ask you a question in a minute, okay? So then okay. Yeah, go ahead.
If I interject here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, one of our slogans that we live by and learn by and love by is next lives here.
Right. So the university.
That's one of our slogans.
Yeah, the university's made a commitment and kind of our framework that next
lives here.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're happy to introduce the next generation.
That's right, and to be leaders. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So our residential piece is really critical for, we really found that piece to be really critical to help students move toward that level of independence. Employment is another huge pillar of our program. Our students come in with a variety of interests. They might have had employment or work experiences in high school, or maybe have done some job shadowing. And we're looking at that and really begin with that person-centered planning and to have those conversations with students where do you see yourself working? What are your career interests? What do you like or don't like? And so we begin that our freshman year. And where students do take an exploration course, they'll do some job shadowing, they'll do some assessments and really kind of begin to think about what that career looks like. And again, this is exploring, this is what college is. And so over those 4 years, and actually they'll have a minimum for internships beginning that sophomore year. They'll have internships in addition to their academic load, which I will talk to you in a little bit in a minute. So by that senior year, they're working more full time, or close to full, 20 hours a week in addition to taking some classes. Whereas that sophomore year, they might be working about 5 hours a week because they're carrying a pretty heavy academic load. Students are supported by job coaches or natural supports on their internships, and they document their progress in a digital portfolio. So some of our career pathways, and we let really students drive that interest. We don't have specific employment tracks, but we'd like to see students kind of bring that interest. And so we have students who are working internships and are working after graduation in childcare, horticulture, hospitality or customer service, office clerical work, STEM-related careers, retail. We've developed internships with our museum center in Cincinnati and our ensemble theater based on students' interest. And we have job developers who actually go out and support students in those internships and help travel train them if they're off, help students navigate public transportation if they're off campus. Okay. So Duke, would you like to share a little bit about one of your internships?
Yeah. So one of my internships is Starbucks. And my Starbucks position, I am, or I was a customer support worker. I took out the trash, cleaned the areas, did the dishes, and did storage area runs. I would help out with their storage whenever they needed it. So I was kind of their workhorse. their most dedicated workhorse and hero, actually.
Yeah,
I was somewhat of their knight in shining armor, but I was wearing all black from head to toe.
Awesome. Thanks, Duke.
You're welcome.
Thanks. So I'm going to keep moving us forward because I know we have a time here and I can stay on afterwards also. So
and we were told that we can keep going as long as we need. So
okay, great. That's awesome. And because I would love to share a little bit more about his experiences. So live, work, learn. So as I said, students take 96 credit hours over those 4 years, which is basically about 12 credit hours per semester, a full-time typical undergraduate load. Most of those courses are program level courses that again address those major areas. But in addition, they always are take a university elective, could be 1 to 3 credit hours courses, and they take those courses independently. And as those courses can, they can take more depending on how they manage their schedule. They can take those courses for academic credit. They're earning typical college credit, or they can audit the course too. And so we have students doing both depending on the type of course. Can you kind of share some of your elective courses that you've taken over the 4 years?
Some of my elective courses. Sorry, it's been a while. Bear with me here. So do you just mean like tab courses or?
No, I think, did you take a fitness or physical conditioning course?
Yeah, I took physical conditioning, and I also worked with the Army. I also did some Army training.
Okay, cool.
And that was a blast.
Awesome. So we support students in taking those classes. We have an academic coordinator that helps students
Oh yeah,
select
and my photography class. I took a photography
photography.
class.
That's right.
Yes, photo fundamentals.
That's right. So we have students who are from all the, any course that's open to any undergraduate student, our students are enrolled in. We support them making that decision, whether it's for credit or for audit. If it's for audit, we have our academic coordinator works with the student and the faculty member to set up an audit agreement, which really lays out the expectations for earning the audit. Audit is still um, credit hours that count towards their certificate. And again, they're fashion design. I heard someone say fashion design and going to concerts or military history or English or public speaking. They're just acting for non-majors, hip hop. They're really any course that their personal interests or something specific around their career. So we have a number of students who in our program have been interested in working with children and have taken courses around childhood development or child play or things like that to really kind of support their understanding of their particular career interest. Students attend study tables a week. They have academic coaches that actually with part of one of our program classes that actually help students man and navigate through their work and their assignments. And then we also, if there is a university level certificate that a student is able to or interested in pursuing, those certificate programs are open to them. And so we've had a couple students complete like a digital media certificate and an IT certificate in our program. All of our students register with accessibility resources so that they are able to get accommodations such as extended testing time or a note taker for their elective courses. And then LEAD. Duke, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about this. Our students are leaders on campus. They're quite visible on campus in their engagement. They're members of student organizations. They are mentors to other students, and then we certainly have other students, mentors who might be social coaches or connect. And I think, as Mallory said, those relationships often turn into true friendships. And we've also seen with our students a really nice network of friendships, mutually real friendships for many times. Some of our students say that's the first time they've had true friendships. Our students are presenting at state and national conferences, and they are TAP ambassadors, such as Duke serving today as an ambassador talking about TAP. So Duke, would you like to share anything about maybe some of the social things that you do on campus?
So
part of?
Most of the social things I do are actually with a majority of my friends that I know. And the rest is me going to different organizations around UC and interacting with people and doing activities amongst other things and being involved socially. And I'm a people person, so this is very beneficial for me.
Are there any?
I love it, and if there was a rewind button, I would do it all over again.
That's so cool. What about some clubs that you might be a part of, or some other clubs your friends might be a part of?
I'm a part of the Anime Club, the Pokemon Appreciation Club, Super Smash Bros. Club. I love playing Super Smash Bros. And a lot of other clubs that involve lots of activities that are very involving and engaging.
Cool. Yeah. And so, universities are feel large. Most students coming to a new place, it is somewhat uncomfortable, intimidating to walk into a new student organization. So we help bridge that. So usually our upperclassmen are members of many student organizations, and so they really serve as that friend or ally to help invite a freshman into a student organization, or we might work particularly with that student organization or religious organization that students might want to be a part of and really help make those connections. Students are often, particularly our freshmen, are connected with other undergraduate, typically other freshman students that serve as kind of campus coaches to help support that navigation. And then because our students have really busy schedules and are managing their life pretty independently, we like to bring them together at least once a week for what we call learning community. And learning community is once a week, or it might be some announcements that we do, but it's also some social activities, and students from that have their own TAP families, and they've had Friendsgiving, and they've done a number of things. And so, it's really a time for them to connect. We've had students who are been in the Men and Women's Chorus from the University of Cincinnati or the jazz band. They've gone on the trips with those classes to Chicago. They were to go to New York this spring break. That didn't happen. We had students get on the buses and go to away football games, and they're doing that really independently. And those decisions and that conversation is happening with their families and that comfort level as they continue to grow in that independence and really have good communication in terms of some of those needs. So it's really exciting to see. You can go on to the next slide, Mallory. One of the things that's been interesting for us, and we did not anticipate, is that we've had a number of students upon graduation who aren't not necessarily from the Cincinnati area are choosing to stay near UC for their home. And part of that reason, it's been home for them for 4 years. They have true friendships, and they're very comfortable in navigating that community. They've developed a really great network of friends inside of students who were in TAP program and outside of that. There's that TAP community. So this is just a ring of all the supports. We talk about our program, but it doesn't happen in isolation. So the family piece is extremely important, and we are very intentional how we help the students maintain that connection and expectations with families and communication. Our students have an advisor, and then we have 3 professional level staff, our campus coordinator, our academic coordinator, and our vocational coordinator that really help in those major domains. And then we really have a lot of students that are coaches that support. And then we know a couple of key areas. Our university faculty are certainly connected, where students are working and connecting to other elective classes. And we know that technology piece is really a lifesaver. Students are using their phones to manage their schedule, to use as reminders. And so that really having those technology skills are really essential for that successful transition to college. And of course, we've all experienced Zoom and WebEx and things that no one ever anticipated. And so I think we're all trying to figure out how it's going to be a natural part of that. So. And then that's just some stats. Our application process, it's really similar expectation, desire to continue that education for that 4 years, really be a self-directed and self-motivated student, like to see experience in that inclusive environment, whether it's volunteering or working in the community, being a problem solver, and really that level of independence to manage one's personal needs and communication, and to be able to self-manage. I will say this because it's on my mind. Now, today, one of the things we do to help bring students in, particularly our freshman class every year, is we do a summer orientation. And that's usually a week in June and July where those freshmen come on campus and live on campus so they can start that navigation and learning how to manage the course management system. And so also for families to get some resources to support that transition process. Because of where we are with COVID-19, we launched virtually today. So I'm paying attention to what's going on because we had a game night going on virtually. So that transition piece is really an important, very thoughtful process. Once a student is accepted, how do we bring them on to transition to this really new experience? And so that's it in terms of Mallory. There was questions at the end, so. graduates. We've had 24 graduates since 2019. Just over 86% are employed or continuing their education. We've had students go on and are taking classes at the University of Cincinnati or at other universities in their community, and about half are living independently, and we'd like to continue to see that grow. So, and I'm happy to take questions and go.
I know we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. If Jan/Jesse/Margaret might be able to answer those, so we can move forward. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We obviously have had a lot of wonderful information and questions. But I just want to holistically talk about some things to consider and hear from Mary Jin from a parent's perspective. So whether you are here representing a student that is in the 12th grade, or I have spoken to parents of second graders before, it is so essential that we start planning for college early and to be prepared for the transition to college. So as I think both Jan and Jesse have illustrated, having high expectations for your student, for your students' teachers, for your students' transition staff, and focusing on the development of as many academic and literacy skills as possible. So reading, writing, and math, which will make all of the classes and transition to college go more smoothly. Jesse talked about the dignity of risk, and that is, for lack of a better explanation, giving your students the opportunity to make mistakes and the opportunity to fail and the opportunity to be in some not so great situations, yet learn from those situations to become more responsible, self-determined adults. Focusing on communication and social skills, which will help to navigate a campus, whether it be as small as Columbus State or Marietta College, or as large as University of Cincinnati or Ohio State. And employment training in school. We have more and more, we have students coming into our program that have had some sort of employment experience, but we've had plenty of students that do not have any employment experience. And the transition to those unpaid internships and on-campus jobs is a lot more smooth for the students that have had some sort of employment or even volunteer experience while they're in high school. Make sure that you are putting a post-secondary program or college in your student's IEP plan so that everybody is aware of that goal and everybody is moving towards that goal as we continue to set and meet IEP progress. And finally, save 529 accounts, ABLE accounts, any sort of trust or savings account that you can use towards a college education is applicable and is eligible for these programs. So I would highly encourage you to start sooner rather than later so that you are able to help to offset the cost of some of these programs. So as far as parent advice goes, and Mary Jin, I'm going to call on you in a second. Cultivating a willingness to work, set high expectations, encourage interdependence and self-sufficiency at a young age. I know my mom always made me order at restaurants, starting at like, I don't know, 5, 6, however old I was. So doing those types of things that just really help to foster communication and independence. Begin preparing financially and be flexible and be willing to consider plan Bs and plan Cs. We have a lot of students that come in with very lofty employment goals. We've had future presidents of the United States. We've had future business leaders of America, and those are all fantastic goals. But just like with any other college student, sometimes, plan A doesn't work out. So finding other opportunities and other passions that might be a little bit more achievable for a recent college grad. So Mary Jin, if you have any advice for parents that are looking at these types of programs for their students?
I'd be open and have expectations for your child. Megan's the youngest of 11, and we really wanted, the other 10 children got the college experience. And so we really wanted that for her. And we looked around, not really the country, because we wanted to keep her close. And the TOPS program was like maybe 4 years old when Megan was accepted into that program. And so the advice would be, continue to teach your children to be independent and to have their wings. And that's what you want for your child. You want the best for them and for them to experience what other typical children or adults are experiencing. We wanted a place that had the academic, social, the community experience, service community aspect of that. And TOPS was the program for us. They were very easy to work with. And throughout any of Megan's education, our goal was to partner with the administration in the school setting. And that's what we did at TOPS. And I think that's very important. You want to work with them and not just have them do all the work. It's a partnership.
Awesome, thank you. So as I mentioned, as much as we would love for everybody here to stay within the state of Ohio, it really is, I think, important to find the right fit for you and your students. Some programs offer residential, some do not offer residential, some offer workforce development certificates, where some offer classes for credit. There's specific paths that students work towards as far as specific career paths, whereas others are more open. So researching and visiting colleges, I know someone in the chat asked if we could do a college visit. Speaking for TOPS, I know we can. Jan, I'm assuming you guys do some sort of college visits as well.
I did. I put it in the response. We have virtual visits this summer, and then once campus opens up, we'll do in-person visits also.
Yes. So we love to have students come and work on, come in and explore and shadow our students. As far as financial aid goes, again, coming full circle back to that Higher Education Opportunity Act of 2008, part of that legislation allowed students to qualify and receive need-based financial aid. So our students are eligible for Pell Grants. They're eligible for what we call the College Opportunity Grants, or OCOG, Ohio College Opportunity Grant, excuse me, OCOG here in Ohio. But they must be enrolled in a CTP certified program, which you can see the list of approved programs at this website. And you must also fill out the FAFSA. This also means that our students are eligible for work study as well. So students can be having on-campus jobs that go towards paying their tuition. So then last but not least, again, thank you for sticking with us, guys. I have some resources. This link right here in this webinar will be sent out, this PowerPoint will be sent out, takes you to Think College's website and their little college search. So you can search by state, you can search by length of program, you can search for residential versus non-residential, you can search for a wide variety of things to fit the needs of your student and your family. It's a fantastic resource. I know I look at it when I'm trying to be inspired by what other universities are doing. And so those 297 programs that we talked about at the very beginning, all of those are on this website, and they have little blurbs and information about each of the programs. There also is a Think College Families Facebook group that is a private closed group for parents and families to talk about their experiences with different programs. And it's, from what I've heard, a really great resource. You get a lot of very candid advice from families that have had great experiences, that have maybe had experiences that left more to be desired. And it's by families for families. So this is another really awesome opportunity for you guys to check out as well. So here's a few other links that will be available. Down in the bottom right corner is a QR code that, if it works as I planned, you can access a Google Drive that I have included some PDFs and some other documents just about the college search in general, and just some resources that obviously I am happy that I didn't include in this webinar tonight because we're already 10 minutes over time. So you can use your smartphone to access that Google Drive, and that will have this PowerPoint in addition to other resources, as I mentioned. And I know that Sue and Deb and Jamie have mentioned that this will also be available on the CBE's website. Okay, so thank you guys. We are here for questions. I know there are a ton of questions in the chat and Q&A. I know that I am ready and willing to be here for you know, however long we need to answer these questions. Panelists, if you are okay to stick around for a couple minutes, that'd be great. So if anyone has any questions for Duke or Mary Jin or Megan, maybe let's, oops, here, I'll go back to the code. Okay, the QR code worked, perfect. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't have the PowerPoint in it quite yet because I was editing it up until like the last minute. So I will include, or I'll put the PowerPoint in as soon as I'm done here. But I'll keep this up. So if anyone has any questions, thank you all for being here. I know this is a very overwhelming decision, but we hope that you learned a little bit more today.
Mallory, it's Jessie.
Yes.
I know that several folks have asked a little bit more specifically about financials, both in cost of programs and the financial aid. I think just for sake of everyone's situation is a little bit different. And there are some generalities to all of this, but there's also some nuances that I think it would be best for families to have individualized conversations with specific programs, whether it's UC, OSU, or whatever program a family might be looking at. Reach out to us, because I think we will gladly have those conversations. It's just, I hate to make broad generalities on a webinar format.
And here's what I will do to kind of maybe help with the situation. So, share. It's not the prettiest in the world, but here we have both contact information and the QR code on the same slide.
I will also suggest, I know you've listed financial aid. Sometimes we've had students being able to access funding from their developmental disabilities services organization. And so that's been an opportunity, some funding, and also students have been able to seek private scholarships.
Yes, that's a great one. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Jin and Megan, but I believe you guys received Ruby's Rainbow at least once, yes? Scholarship, oh, can you guys hear me? Okay, you're muted, Mary Jin.
The Down, am I still no? Down syndrome scholarship in Ruby's Rainbow. Right.
Yes. So that's another really important thing, and thank you for bringing that up, Jan, that we encourage families to seek all sorts of funding opportunities, just as any, traditional college student would. I know, like, when I was looking for college scholarships, there's like scholarships for left-handed people and scholarships for people over 6'2", and scholarships for all sorts of crazy things that, I know, Duke, isn't that silly? He's going to face right now. so that don't necessarily say like a degree seeking program. It just, you know, they identify a college program. So that is definitely something that we encourage families to seek out as well. Or local high school alumni scholarships. There's just so many sources of funding these days. We've got some more. Okay. Any other questions? It looks like, so Elizabeth in the chat said, would a program like TOPS or TAP be a good choice for a tweener type of students? I have a high functioning autism spectrum disorder son who will be a junior and is holding a part-time job, but gets a lot of support in a classroom setting. So Jan or Jesse, would either of you like to tackle that question?
Sure.
Go-
We do.
Go ahead, Jesse, and I'll add on.
Sorry. Ohio State does, or TOPS does have some tweener, I kind of like that, students in the TOPS program. But one thing I want to be really, I guess, clear on is that no student in the Ohio State TOPS program can be a degree-seeking student because our students do not go through the traditional admissions process. The university has been very clear with us that this is not an alternate means. So if something that your son wants to do is become a student at Ohio State, he would need to go through the traditional admissions process. But if he does, if he were to do that, gain acceptance into the university, there is a separate program at Ohio State that we can connect you with that is specifically for students with autism who have matriculated into the university through traditional admissions process and supports them in a lot of different ways. So yes, we've had some folks who are interested. And I will say also our summer program, we also, like UC, have a summer orientation that we have opened up to students still in high school who are trying to make those decisions about whether or not Ohio State is the right place for them. So that's something, he will be a junior. So that's something he could do going into his senior year. That's next summer, is participate in our summer program. Go ahead, Jan.
No, I was going to say that was the same for us. It's students are either in TAP or they can come into a matriculating degree program, but they can't. We're not able to set up to do both. And so once a student might start on TAP and say, I'm ready to seek that degree, then they would no longer be able to be in our program. But we definitely encourage students to reach out to accessibility resources to find out what additional supports there might be to support your son.
Kind of a shame, really.
What did you say, Duke?
It's kind of a shame, really.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all again. I will stick around until, you know, maybe 10 till or so. But if you have any questions, just for the sake of, I know how busy Jan and Jesse are, I have my contact information up there. And I will do the best that I can to answer any questions that you guys might have. And if that is a question that needs to be delegated to someone else, I can do that. So please, please, please feel free to shoot me an email, access that resource database. Well, it's not really a database, that toolbox, we'll call it, on Google Drive. And thank you all for coming. Thank you for being here this evening. And we hope you have a great, happy, and healthy rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you, Mallory and Jan and the panel for serving us in this way and just sharing about these two wonderful programs. We are proud to be partnering with you through the Center for Disability Empowerment. And if we can be of any assistance to any of these families or individuals, They may call us at 614-575-8055. And I hope to see you all in the future. Thank you again for your time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Duke, so much for joining us this evening.
All right.
Bye,
Signing
guys.
off.
And
Good
yeah,
night, everyone.
it's nice
Bye.
meeting all of you too.
Nice meeting y'all too. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mallory. That was great.
Thank you
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Mallory, I'll stay on with you.
Cool.
Mallory, do you need me for anything?
I think we're good. I just answered the question about ACE. I think we should be good. But I'll stay on. I know our numbers are dwindling, but I will stay on for another moment.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yep.